Hi everyone, welcome to UKIYN EcoPeace Cafe. So today we are going to have a wonderful session with Sarah Oliver on community building. So UKIYN EcoPeace Cafe hosts a series of webinars since July. So we had like different sessions on climate change and countering hate speech. So we touched like various topics and we had a wonderful participation. And so this month we are focusing more on creating or building community and figuring out how can we strengthen our community. So today we have a wonderful guest, Sarah Oliver. She is from URI, United Religions Initiative, and she's based in South Africa. So she's a wonderful interfaith peace builder and having more than 10 years of experience in working with interfaith peace builders and youth engagement. So welcome, Sarah.
Thank you, Greshma, and thank you, Eda and Cindy and everybody from Religions for Peace UK. It's so great to be here. And yeah, I'm really excited and looking forward to the session. I think building community is just the foundation of what we do. And I know already just by looking at you that we have experts in this room and we are all experts in this topic. And so it's going to be a interactive and engaging discussion. I'm not somebody who gives lectures or talks in that way, but very much runs things in an interactive methodology. So I invite you to engage with me in this way. But particularly at this moment, it just feels like we need to be, pulling our communities together and finding those spaces where we can build trust and unity and connection. And it just feels really, really important. So I'm looking forward to hearing from all of you. And I think let's dive straight in. Can everybody see my screen? I hope you can. Thumbs up. Okay, cool. So very simply, just a sort of arrival question. How are you arriving today? As we land in this workshop and space together, there are multiple animals on the screen that represent different facial expressions and moods. And I invite you to choose which number and place it in the chat if you would. And then we'll hear. So, okay, Natalia's already in there with number 10. Eda, I think that's you, number 8. Oh, Ben, also number 10. Okay, we're gonna have to do some energy lifting for those as number Isaac's there is number 10. And then Daniel's 7 is a 3. Lovely. Okay, great. Does anybody want to just say a little bit about why? Let's hear from who would like to offer us. Issa, you said 3. Do you want to say why you chose 3?
Yeah, I said 3 because as I arrived, I was kind of making myself a snack. And I have this piece of bread and I'm kind of like eating and listening. And yeah, it's a bit of a rush today. So I felt like this koala illustrated me perfectly.
Great. I love that. Yes. And would anybody else like to offer why? Soumya, do you want to say hello and say why you chose number 5?
Sure. I feel like this looks very content, and that's how I'm feeling, even though it's almost 1 here. But I still feel very content, and I look forward to what we have to discuss. And yes.
Amazing. Thank you. And particularly if it's almost 1, I'm so impressed with those of you who are like awake at 12:30. I mean, already for me, it's 9 o'clock and I'm like, oh, I'm definitely feeling a little bit towards 10 in terms of it being 9 o'clock, but I'm very much more like a 7, I think, in the sense of very just curious and interested in terms of what's going to happen in the space. But thank you for sharing. A couple of you are saying 2, so Chidera and Greshma. And yeah, do any of you want to say a little bit of why you're number 2, Greshma?
Yeah, I'm number 2, and as Soumya said, like it's already like 1 here. So I'm still so energetic and I'm really looking forward to build like very energetic community. So yeah.
Great. And I see Isaac is saying, after my comment, you've changed to number 8. Isaac, do you want to say a bit more? What shifted?
Yeah, sure, Sarah. So, I mean, I just, saw the message in the group, which is always a good, a medium of communication. And I was 10, just lying down. I'm like, okay, what should I do now? But yeah, I guess, when I joined in, I can relate more to 8, which I'm like, I don't know, excited, happy. So let's see what we are gonna, achieve from this. So yeah, I'm 8 now.
Okay, great. And there's nothing wrong with 10. For those of you who have put 10, like that's perfect. We want to acknowledge exactly where we are and how we're feeling as well. Yes.
But I also
Natalia.
want to say that 10, it's not necessarily so lazy. It could be more like, also relaxed. It's just, that's how I see it. It's just not necessarily that I'm so tired, though last week was so exhausting, but I feel more like, okay, I'm relaxed to listen. I'm excited actually to learn more about community building, but yeah, I think it's more like, okay, let's chill and listen to you guys.
Great. No, thank you for clarifying that. And yes, that's exactly why we interpret these images and pictures in many different ways based on how we're arriving in the space. Does anybody else want to offer? Is there a number? Aparna, you're number 4. I can totally relate to that as well, but I'd love to hear from you.
Well, mine is mostly because it's getting really cold now in Scotland. So when it's not just for this meeting, every time I sit down to work, I have a blanket over my legs and my lap pulled so that I'm cozy. So it's mostly to do with the Scottish weather.
Okay, no, thank you for bringing that in. Great to know that that's where you are. And yeah, I am not jealous, I have to say, of the weather up north. Here in Cape Town, we've had sunshine and we're moving into our summer and it's enjoyable.
Well, okay, I'm getting jealous now then.
Great to have you. Yeah, thank you. Anybody else want to offer? Cindy, do you want to say?
Yes.
You're 6?
Yeah, I have to choose 6. It's got such a trusting face. So as we are,
Nice.
it has hope and trust all in one. And I'm naive.
Great.
Yeah, community building is particularly important to us. So, I am, that's my look towards you.
Lovely. Okay, great. Well, yeah, just I want to acknowledge all of these different experiences, and the way that we land and arrive in a space is so important. And it's so important that we are recognizing the diversity of experiences, because that really is the first step in building a community, is knowing that we are diverse and we are coming from different days and experiences and things that have happened in our days. And so I just want to say thank you for showing up and being here, and taking the time to be here no matter what has been happening in your life. Ben, do you want to add your reflection?
Yeah, just to say something. Yeah, just to add that the panda can spring into the Kung Fu Panda mode when necessary. Yes. So yeah, it's a matter of transformation, and we can all get ourselves into Kung Fu Panda mode in peace building.
Indeed. Oh, I love that. Okay, yes, Kung Fu Panda mode. And Chidera, your hand, yes.
Okay, hello everyone. Sorry, I was having a bit of network glitch, so I kind of sorted it out. I'm coming in as the white beautiful dog, because I hope to learn more and get more knowledge and everything. So thank you.
Perfect. Great. Thank you. Well, let's just take a moment as a group to consider all these different experiences. And I'm going to invite you to take a breath and just notice how your breath is at this particular moment. Some of us feeling a little bit tired, some of us feeling wide awake and ready, and some of us moving around, eating, different things happening. And just take a moment to, land and center and be here. And to just notice all the different things that are happening both in our world. We're here on a call with different people from around the world, and we have different cultures and different religions present. So noticing the space that we're in, and yeah, bringing our full attention to this time together. So I invite you just to, with me, take a breath in and out and in and out. And just as always, starting with gratitude, particularly just at this moment in our world and the conflicts that we're seeing. I'm so aware of how tender our hearts are, particularly as peace builders, and people of peace and justice. The world feels very shaken at the moment, and it's so important that we come back to ourselves in these particular times. So we're going to do another just check-in and sort of get to know one another a little bit better, because part of the objectives of this session are for all of us to get to know one another and building this community. So in some ways, we're going to be modeling what I hope you'll take away from the session. And I have another task for you, which is to find an object, anything nearby around you, that says something about who you are and a quality that you maybe bring to the group. And then I will stop sharing my screen, and you're invited to share your name and where you're from and how this object connects to you or the quality that you bring. I hope that makes sense. I will stop sharing my screen now so that I can see all of you. Eda, yes.
I think for me, my object, which is sad actually, is my phone, because I have everything there, and all my life is in there. So I do everything in there. I'm trying to cut it down though. So I chose my phone.
Okay. And what would you say as a particular quality? I mean, there's so many that you could pull out from that, but is that about connection? Is it about busyness? What would you suggest?
Out of all, I would pick connection, because it's the source that I connect with my friends and family.
This is it. It's my charger. I chose it because the energy comes from the same place, but we are adaptable to different places. And it doesn't matter what you need to power up, as long as you've got good energy, it can go to different places. That's why I chose it. My interfaith object.
Hi, I'm Natalia. Originally, I'm from Russia, but I represent RFP UK here in London. So the first object that actually comes to my mind is it's a pen. But it's not a normal pen or usual pen. It's something that I use to draw when I do my designs, because my background in designs. But also then I was thinking, and why I selected it, it's something that I connect to my work, or things that I design through it. But also I connect to people, because through design I connect to people. But also I was thinking about a cat. So this is a present from Mexico, from my friend. And it's a cat, and actually it represents me. So I'm like a cat who can just be comfortable everywhere, but also it could be so independent in a way. So I don't know, just thought that maybe sometimes I could just be as cats, a little bit aggressive, but also be cozy. So maybe that's what I can bring to this group.
Wonderful. I love that. There's the differences in one object. I mean, we're not one thing, right? The coziness and the maybe challengingness as well. That's lovely. Did you want to say something else?
No, I just want to. I have in mind who I want to
choose. Yes.
Choose. Yeah. So it's Danielle. The floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you. I actually didn't choose an object. Well, it's an object, but not only an object. It's the object and the subject. It's the plant.
Very nice.
Yeah. And well, I'm Daniel from Barcelona, and I facilitate the work that reconnects from Joanna Macy. I don't know if you hear. And these days, starting today, there is this gathering, Gaia gathering, online, and I just invite you. It's free for donation. So I will put the link if anyone after that meeting want to check or the next days. It's an amazing, the word that reconnects. So thank you. And yeah, and I choose Julius.
Yes, Julius, we can hear you.
Yes, thank you. I'm Father Julius Chelanga from Philippines, Manila. I choose this object right here is 2nd November, and in Catholic faith it is All Souls Day. So we are ready to go to the cemetery to pray for the departed souls, and I choose this because we are connecting with the invisible reality. Those are people who are no longer present with us. So, so this is a container of holy water. It's the object that I choose. That we are not only connected to ourselves, but also to the things that are invisible.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Father Julius.
Yes.
Isaac as Thomas. Currently, I work with URI as a Global Council trustee, Global Council secretary for URI, and I'm currently in Doha, Qatar, working with the Global Youth Movement. So happy to be here. My object, I was basically grabbing a quick snack. So I have two objects. I have bread and peanut butter. So I don't know if it's you guys can say it. So yeah. Why I would relate to that is maybe, let's say, everyone, every one of us is, we sustain the whole earth, we sustain, let's say about URI, which I work with. So we are all the bread and peanut butter of our own organizations, of the world, and we keep things moving. So I think, what we do is, even though it's a small snack, it is much important. Every little thing counts. So I just wanted to let that, mention that here.
Thank you. We keep things moving, like the energy of peanut butter.
Me and Isaac started interfaith journey together, and yeah, so we are like childhood friends. So thanks for joining, Isaac, too. And my object, okay, I'm Greshma. I am from India, and I'm the founder of EcoPeace Cafe. So here is my object. It's a small plant, and recently I planted it, and it's always on my table. And in EcoPeace Cafe, we always say that plant a tree and also observe it and observe the growth. And I'm also experimenting with this, and it gives really peaceful. Like when I see, like whenever I have tension, I'm seeing this little plant, and these leaves gives me like more energy, like more peaceful and calmness. So it's really work. So please try it out. And yeah, with EcoPeace, and also plants gives you like lots of peace and happiness. Yeah. And yeah, Ben.
Yes, for me, nonviolent communication is my religion and calling. So yeah, giraffe is symbols. It's long neck, symbolize that you can symbolize awareness, mindfulness. It has got an amazing perspective. And then secondly, it has got one of the strongest parts. It hasn't got the biggest, it has got the strongest muscles in the left ventricle. And then so they can pump for the whole body. And finally, some language trivia in Swahili, wewe ni rangi ya twiga. You are the color of giraffe is a way of saying you are beautiful and distinctive. So yeah, it's a chat up line. Only in Swahili I'm aware of. But that's what my Swahili teacher told me. I haven't chatted with too many native speakers. Haven't got the occasions. But yeah.
Love that, Ben. Thank you. And thank you for bringing in the Swahili. That's beautiful. So much in there. Who would you like to pass it to?
I've lost track. Isa, have you spoken?
Yeah, not yet.
Hi, so I'm Isa. I'm based in London, and the object that I picked are my glasses, which I should be wearing really, but I'm not used to it yet. But for me, it kind of symbolizes what I try to do in every situation, which is seeing things clearly for what they are, without judgment, just trying to see things clearly, and also maybe try and see the details, so past appearances, seeing the little things that maybe you might not notice. Sometimes are quite important. So having your glasses on can really help in many situations.
Very nice. Thanks, Isa. Who do you want to pass it to? We haven't heard from Soumya yet.
Soumya.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for this wonderful activity. Actually, my answer was also the same. It was classes, and for me, it means more clarity in terms of overgoing differences of humans. So, enable in our capacity to avoid all of those differences and being able to appreciate those differences in seeing clearly. I think that is why I would choose classes. And
Awesome. Thank you, Soumya. Aparna, we haven't heard from you, I think.
Yep. So, hello, everybody. I'm Aparna. I work with a charity called Interfaith Scotland. My native this is India. So, and the object that I picked this is the closest thing that was at hand, but it's actually scented candle labeled winter spice. So I thought all of us coming together here, we are providing a bit of freshness and a bit of fragrance to our own communities when different, and it's not the same fragrance, it's a mix. So because we are all providing different perspectives, different backgrounds, we're all coming together here, like all these scents are mixed in this particular candle. And also to remind that it says burn time 26 hours, to remind all of us that we shouldn't overwork ourselves and burn ourselves out.
Very good. Very nice. Thank you, Aparna. And then Jidera, we haven't heard from you, I don't think.
Okay. Hello everybody. The nearest object I could get was a piece of white cloth, like it's a singlet. So because it's white, I feel it captures, white stands for peace. So I think the reason why we're gathered here is to ensure we promote peace in our community. So I think this white piece of cloth captures the true essence of why we are here. Thank you. Chidera, I'm from Nigeria. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. And Tanzila Khan, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but
yes, Sarah, perfectly right. Thank you so much, and assalamu alaikum everybody. I'm Tanzila. I'm from Pakistan. Unfortunately, my camera isn't working right now, but I can share that I'm holding a book, and I believe that books play a huge role in documenting history from an authentic point of view. And reading a book is pretty much equivalent to having a coffee with the author and having the privilege of just peeking into their lives for a bit and understanding their perspective. And it's a great tool to understand other people's perspective, and it generates empathy in the heart that this world desperately needs. So a book holding it and hopefully building a library.
Amazing. Thank you. I love that. The empathy that generates from being in conversation with an author. That's beautiful. Okay, we're almost done with everybody. I think Tumaini and Marilyn, welcome. And Nima, I'm not sure if you were all here for the introduction or the question, but the invitation was to find an object that connects with you. But maybe if you haven't found an object, that's fine. And if you just want to introduce yourselves, unmute and say hello and where you're joining us from, that would be great. So Tumaini, do you want to say hello? If you're there.
Yes, I would like to say hello.
Yes.
First of all, I'm very happy to meet you. Unfortunately, we are out of the power, so I don't know. I will not share anything with you. So, but what my objective is smile. So, what I mean in smile, we get what God wants from us. Wherever we pass into different circumstances, like what happened in the people of Gaza and the people of Israel, if you give a smile, it means we show the God creations, but also we show the power of God. So that's my objective, smile. But also, last year, I'm very happy to hear people are speaking Swahili here. And I'm Swahili teacher by professional. So people from Scotland, bravo, bravo, bravo. Ongera sana, karibu kwenye dunia ya Kiswahili.
There you go, Ben. If you need another Swahili teacher, Tumaini is there. This is exactly what we're here for. Building community and building networks is, yeah, please do be in touch with each other. And Marilyn, so good to have you here.
Hi, Sarah. Hi, everybody. It's good to be here. Sorry, it got load shedding, so kind of missed like the first part of the whole meeting.
Okay.
And like, yeah, just saw Greshma's message, and I was like, oh yeah, I was supposed to join this. So yeah, it's good to be in this space and to hear the conversations. I think for me, what object would I choose? It would definitely be a light, apart from being in the darkness of load shedding. I think this world, yeah, this world needs more light. And each one of us are light unto ourselves because the divine exists within us. And we have this opportunity to be more light into this world. So I think that will be my object, because things look gloomy out there. I mean, there's a lot of negativity, and maybe if we could find that light within ourselves, we could just bring more positivity and love into this world.
Beautiful. Thank you, Marilyn. I will just say that my object was a mug of tea, because I drink tea all the time. And but also because a mug is there's something about the holding, both in holding the mug and the mug being a holding object. And I think an important part of what I do is about holding space and holding spaces for groups and people and processes. And so this idea of holding is an attractive one for me, although holding and letting go as is an important process. But that's the mug. So thank you everybody for sharing and being a part of that. It's so good to hear all our different voices and where we're coming from, and what we bring in terms of these different qualities. And while you were all sharing, I was taking notes in the background, and just to show you some of the words that stood out from what you had shared, of who we are, the qualities of awareness and adaptability and being, sustainable, seeing things through, being comfortable, peace, keeping things moving, mindfulness, freshness, light, empathy, connection. What an incredible community, right? Like already, just with everything that you shared as from your introduction, we look at these words and we kind of say, like, wow, like what is possible? Can you imagine the possibilities of all of these people and all of these energies coming together and working together? So just to acknowledge the picture that we've just in this very simple exercise created together, of qualities that you all bring, which is part of starting that process of building community. So we'll move now to a quick breakout group. So you'll be in a group of 2 or 3 with these 2 questions. So we're thinking about building a community. We're thinking about what it means to be part of a group or a team or a community. And there are 2 questions. The first is, what is one thing that you need from others that helps you to feel safe, connected, and willing to contribute to a group? And then what is one thing that you find challenging when working in groups, teams, or communities that can lead to you feeling unsafe, disconnected, or unwilling to contribute? Welcome back. I think that's everybody. Oh, there's Marilyn coming in as well. I know that probably felt a bit short and like there was maybe more that you could offer. And so please do bring what else you would like to offer. If not, everybody got a chance to speak into the bigger group. And we've had a new friend join us. Ben is here. Ben, do you want to just say hello and where you're joining us from?
Thank you very much. Hello, I'm from Albania and always I am in this program with your amazing work.
Great. Thank you so much for being here. So let's hear. We had, I think, about 4 groups, and the conversation was, when being part of a team or a group or a community, what is one thing that you need from others to help you feel safe, connected? And then what is one thing that you find challenging? I'm curious if there were similarities that came out from your group and what those similarities were as a starting point that you might offer.
We saw what was common in our discussion. Of course, we all contributed. The first thing was about respect, that each of us needs a respect in a group. The respect includes listening to each other and respecting the viewpoints of one another. So that is one. And then secondly, commitment. Because in a commitment, it makes everyone to work towards a common goal. And then thirdly is caring for each other. Because when we care for each other, we also feel that we belong to the group. So then the second part of the question was what we find difficult. Actually, we did not have enough time, but one of the things that that we find challenging is the cultures, difference in cultures, because most of the groups are intercultural. So there is also a challenge of perspectives when we are in a group, because our cultures, we bring with our cultures our own perspective. So, and I think that is one of our challenges when we meet in a group. Okay, that's for
Great.
our group. Thank you.
Thank you, Father Julius. Thank you for sharing from your group, respecting, listening, the commitment, the care for each other, and then the differences in our culture. And I just, by show of hands, like, did any of those come up in other groups? Out of curious, or were they different? And let's hear what came up in the other groups.
So Daniel and I were in a discussion together, and the first thing he said was that would be helpful is empathetic listening. And that really did resonate with me in what would make me feel comfortable in a group. And I also shared that knowing that it is not going to be, it's a no judgment zone. That is quite important for me personally as well. And regarding challenges, it was coming across working in a group of teams is more like, in the sense of unhealthy competition. And as that was something we both agreed upon, as it can easily rise in a team, and that can lead to that can be a big challenge in working together.
Great, thank you.
I think similarities was like that's what I'm like now. I was like, oh, what was that? With Isa, we had a lot of similarities, but also what Ben shared was kind of resonates as well. Being designers or from designer backgrounds, it was like being appreciated or acknowledged for your work and like being in a way heard. It's just also important in like for us, or at least there was commonalities. But also it was interesting that Ben brought the so he tried to distinguish the kind of this word or definition of respect, and but then I just I have struggles to recall. But it was more yeah, guys, can you help me out on that? It's just it was interesting. Ben, maybe you can repeat because it was really important what he said.
Yeah. Okay. With my wife, can you hear me? I'm turning off my video for better connection.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. What I've noticed in conflict resolution is that the word respect can actually end up triggering other people, because it can be used as a judgment of other people. You're not respecting this whatever me or whatever, or the organization. So I try to find synonyms that seem to work better and more. That seems to be more connecting. There are synonyms in just consideration, caring, mindfulness of others' needs, anything along that line. That has been my experience. Just wanted to bring that.
Thank you.
And the challenging aspect was one of the challenging aspects that I can recall right now. It's being intimidated or like by a person who could be overpowering, like, or taking this too much space. But also when I heard Aparna, it was Daniel brought that says like the super competitive environment or something like that. Yeah, I was just like, yeah, actually it makes sense. It's really challenging. But yeah. Well, Isa, would you like to add?
No, I think you've covered everything. Yeah, and basically that was it. And yeah, the being valued, feeling valued to the team, and just being welcomed and feeling that will make you feel safe and more willing to participate, and also feeling comfortable to make mistakes as well. Because if you feel that you're valued and that you get a warm welcome, then you're more comfortable in maybe sharing things and making a mistake, and it's okay. So being in that kind of group where it's all inclusive and there's no judgment.
Great, thank you, Isa. Yeah, feeling comfortable to make mistakes and feeling valued and welcomed as well. So important. Thank you. For any other challenges from your group that came out, or was it more that taking up too much space, an overpowering presence? Yeah. Okay, cool. And then we had Soumya and Marilyn, I think, as the last group.
In the good things that we can expect to in the group that makes us comfortable, we had patience, understanding, trust, and listening. So everybody needs to have a lot of it just builds up the entire environment of comfort when you are patient with others, and in a particular group when you can trust people and with your opinions, it makes you feel safe. And listening, because um, in order to express yourself, you want to make sure that you are being heard and your opinions are they matter. And in terms of the bad points, we had a breakdown of communication, and Marilyn expressed her personal account, and she explained it through that. And So breakdown of the communication can lead to a lot of it's like a downhill where you can where everything breaks down and there is nothing that you can communicate to, and all of your efforts are going in vain, and lack of trust and neglect in terms of human being, in terms of your existence, your opinions, of your expressions. So yes, we had those. We also lost Tubani, and I don't think he's still here with us. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for acknowledging that. That's great that you're looking out for who's in the group. And I'm sure it might be a network issue, but hopefully he will come back. Marilyn, do you want to add anything?
I think she did a great job summarizing it up. I think for me, I would just talk about when I spoke about breakdown in communication, it was with I gave an example of an experience that happened to me, and it was more of an intergenerational experience where I had a project that was running for 5 years, and there was this new senior religious leaders that came in that didn't understand it. And through the breakdown of communication, because they wanted to take over the project, felt that youth shouldn't lead and shouldn't be in the forefront, and so they destroyed my 5-year project. So it brought a lot of despondency, but also the more I tried to communicate and the more I tried to explain, the more I wasn't heard. So it came to a point where I just had to walk away from the project. Even though it was running for 5 years, it's because they felt that senior religious leaders should have more say than a youth when it came to matters. So that was I just wanted to highlight about the breakdown in communication, but also how it happens on an intergenerational level.
Yeah, thank you, Marilyn. So yes, it's not just about communication, but there's more to that in terms of kind of I want to say false assumptions or narratives that people are coming with, whether it be about a younger person or an older person, the intergenerational challenges, the assumptions that we're making about people's abilities or not, and then that can lead to those kinds of challenges as well. So thank you for sharing that story, and just to recognize again how difficult and frustrating and yeah, kind of infuriating and difficult that must have been for you. But a good example of challenges that emerge and are reality. So as you've been talking, I've just been capturing what has been said, and just in terms of our needs and then kind of challenges that emerge. And I do just want to say, I really feel like we're a group of experts, because even as you were all introducing yourselves, I mean, you're all working in community spaces, in different organizations that have these methodologies and tools available. So I feel like in many ways, this is a collective learning experience. So please do add the learnings and tools that have been useful for you. But for me, I find this a helpful place to start, thinking about this idea of what is often referred to as building a container. So a container in terms of a basket or a bowl, or however you want to imagine it, as a way of starting the work of building a community. But from here, this is a process that we're doing, but I'm also encouraging you to notice the methodology and then be using that in your communities as well. But starting with acknowledging our needs, and then in acknowledging our challenges. And from here, the invitation is to, is there an agreement that we can create as a group that kind of brings in both our needs and our challenges? And I'm going to use an example, and where we're going with this is to then generate a list of agreements, which, for an example, could start with the words "we commit." But if we look at the first one on the list, which is respecting different perspectives, and then the challenge of differences in cultures, kind of matching these needs and challenges in order to create an agreement. And for an example with these ones, the agreement could say we commit to respecting different perspectives and in the context of different cultures, and understanding as best we can the different cultures that exist, or we commit to learning about our different cultures so that we're not making assumptions or that potentially lead to conflict. Or another one could be this one about taking too much space. There could be a commitment around, we commit to ensuring equal voices, everybody has the same or an equal chance to share, or that there's sharing of airtime and sharing of space, as well as we commit to being aware of how much space we're taking up and our own, taking up of space as well. So I wonder, looking at these, if there are any other commitments that you would like to name, particularly looking at the challenges. I think from the needs, there are things like you can put as an agreement, we commit to caring for each other, we commit to it being a non-judgment zone. There's lots that come out of there. But yeah, any other kind of commitments that you would draw out of these lists of needs and challenges?
I would say also, like for me, and we tried it in our master course here in London. We also created an agreement for our group in the beginning of the course. And actually, in entire my career, it was the first time when actual agreement was made. And there was like, it's not judgment zone, or like it's a space where you can make mistakes, or mistakes are welcomed, or something like that. And actually, I would say as a result, we were able actually to build a space where actually was welcoming for all the different countries that came together to study and support each other. And actually, I said to myself, which is a little bit hard for me, but that I can take it to my next project or company, that actually I would love to integrate this kind of agreements because I see the value of them. That's, for example, creating this no judgment kind of zone.
Yeah, thanks, Natalia. And what I'm curious, in your the master's class, why do you think it worked? Or what helped? Did it feel like everybody stuck to the agreements, and why do you think that was?
Maybe because it was really a course for design for social innovation and sustainable future. So in a way, we already were talking about the kind of inclusivity, diversity, equity, and all this stuff. So I guess everyone came with this mindset already that they are willing to commit working towards these goals. So I guess it was partially that everyone came with this mindset already. So probably
yes. Okay, so there was a willingness, that's important to notice, and there was maybe a little bit of familiarity. I really appreciate you saying that this was like the first time in that particular context that you'd done something like this, and I'm curious because this is a very common way that people start groups and processes and buildings of community, the creating of the container. And so I'm curious from others, where have you seen this being done? Has it worked? Has it not worked? Do you use a method like this? Like I said, the kind of next step of this method is generating that list of agreements together. Sometimes in group workshop spaces, you see the list of agreements are put up on the wall already, and then people are asked to add to them. So there are many different ways, and I'm curious, since we've got so many different experiences in the room, what do you think about this agreements sort of step, and what is important, or what are the crucial things to make it work, or where have you seen it not work? I'm asking lots of questions, but just opening the floor to just a conversation around the value of something like this. Issa, yes.
Yeah, I haven't actually had an experience before of creating agreements in a group, especially at the start. But I think it's a really, really good idea, because it kind of, it's something that you can always go back to. So if there is ever an issue that comes up, or uncertainty or something, it's something that you can always go back to, and then it kind of puts you back on track if things do go a bit off course, or if something has been done that not quite aligned with how everyone wants to be aligned. Then it's just a good way of being, to refocus on what did we actually agree on in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a way of kind of holding group accountability as well, and particularly when things go wrong, which is what things do. Like we said, I mean, there are challenges and conflicts arise, and we'll look a little bit more at that later. But having something that you can go back to and say, these were agreements that we made, can we come back? And also, not to say that these are binding. I'm curious if others have done this in other processes, because I found that it's helpful to name these as constantly emerging and changing, and if the group needs to come back and adapt and change them, then that's fine. Chidera, yes, I see your hand.
Okay, I think when a group tries to come together, in religion, there is something we call the sacred and the profane, which covers the do's and the don'ts. So I think when forming a group, there should be a code of conduct that will this code of conduct is not there to intimidate or make the atmosphere harsh. No, it's just a strict, it's just a code, it's just a set of rules that group members are all to follow, and it helps put them in check, and it helps to keep our eyes on the goal. This is what we came for. This is what we agreed to achieve on. So everybody should make sure that we go by them. Everybody should make sure that whatever you're doing, you are actually working in line with everything we've agreed. So I think when 2 or 3 humans gather, there should always be an agreement. That agreement will help put us in check. Thank you.
Thank you. You've mentioned some really important words, and I want to offer them as just a helpful learning that I've had over the years. The difference between norms, agreements, and rules, or norms, rules, and agreements. And I'm curious how, for each of you, when you hear those words, recognizing that English is not all of our first language and that words have different meanings, but the understanding of norms being a particular behavior that is kind of collectively, sometimes doesn't even need to be said or named, right? But it's like a kind of collective behavior of a group. Rules are often more enforced, and so, like Chidera, you were saying, the code of conduct, that can bring a very kind of top-down rule-like language often, which can sometimes turn people away, right? They're like, oh, I'm a bit nervous about a code of conduct. Whereas agreements, there's something about the collective consensus building process to get to those agreements, which means that everybody is invested, right? And everybody's like had a piece in making those happen. So it's just an interesting distinction, those 3 words for me, and where we choose, or the kind of language we choose to support a more collective and inclusive process. But you're so right that when 2 or 3 gather, I liked how you said that, that having naming these kinds of agreements is so important as a starting point. What is this bringing up for others? Anybody? Yes, Ben.
I've spent many hours of my life kind of discussing this agreement thing. It is actually even a softer called a group description. If we even can agree to the description of a group, then the agreement can actually sometimes implicit. Even so, that is just so kind of, and then agreement is tends to work out very nice, and then was guidelines and rules, and it can get to a bit like a maybe sometimes it's the balance between the needs for autonomy and connection. It's a very complex in my way it's very intricate dynamic. So I tend to promote starting with a description first. For example, I don't even know the description. So and usually it takes a much shorter time to agree on the description.
Yes. And when you say description, can I ask, do you connect that with like purpose as well? Would you say, or would you separate purpose and description?
I haven't really thought this through. I've seen different versions of it, but it's just starting with some description. Then it can emerge into kind of some kind of a mission statements, and then the purpose and that sort of thing. Actually, even that can be sort of one step softer or less controversial than agreement. Then that seems to work quite well in several communities that I've seen being built.
Perfect. Yeah, great. No, thank you for that. And that's definitely where we're going with this conversation as well. And I think just to name, and Greshma, maybe this is a good moment if do you want to say anything about the purpose of this group? I mean, in the sense of to answer Ben's question and where this group has been. I mean, we're in some ways well, and Eda as well. I'm just throwing the ball to you both to see if you want to answer that part of this question. Otherwise, I will keep going.
So UKIYN EcoPeace Cafe is like we are trying to create a group of young people to act for climate action and peace building. So as I mentioned in the beginning, we started in July by training facilitators and also conducting different sessions that were like mostly like very informative on the basics of different topics. Like for example, we had sessions on climate change. Then we discussed about how to protect ecosystem and how to restore ecosystem. So we had different sessions, and you can find the recordings on YouTube. So for this sessions, like for this month, we are more planning to have community building and also having sessions on planning projects and doing work. So we already conducted lots of informative sessions, and we brainstormed like how to take actions. And from this session, we are trying to create a community and helping you to create community in your localities or in your organization. So we need all of you as members of UKIYN EcoPeace Cafe as a community, like discussing on how we can work together in, like, as we all know, like we are from different countries and different backgrounds. So in an online community, how can we work together and explore more topics and more discussions and brainstorm, and also helping each other to come together and like supporting each other. So here also, after discussing like or coming to a speed networking, so we know like what expertise others hold and how we can implement that expertise in our work. So this is a platform to like brainstorm and discuss like how can we work together for a better world. So we all are like interdependent. That's the main theme we are trying to voice. Like we all are interdependent, we all need each other. So in building a community, how can we support each other and create a community of young people who can actively build peaceful and sustainable world. So that's what we are trying to build. And Eda or Natalia, maybe you can also add to.
I'll just say, I mean, I think that's great, Greshma, and I know it has put in the chat the links for the previous webinars as well as the upcoming ones. And I think what's exciting for me about this is that there's just this like process, and all these things that we're exploring are both tools for us as a group here to be practicing and doing together, and then in your own communities and spaces that you're working in and moving in. So, but thank you for bringing us, Ben, to that question of purpose, because it was kind of where we were going next. So maybe it's good to move there. But I'm just as to wrap this up, I'd like to invite all of you, just as a practice exercise, to looking at this list of needs and challenges, to put one sentence in the chat. We'll use the chat to quickly generate a list together, but one sentence of an agreement. So we commit to, using that language, that just as an example, where it's a practice round, but looking at this list together, what is one agreement that you would pull out and offer for the group? Okay, Daniel started us off with a commitment to respect commitments and time, and if not, communicate with time. Yes, that's a very important one in groups particularly. Commit to treating, from Issa, we commit to treating everyone as equal, whatever your age, status, experience, identity, and background. From Natalia, I commit to contributing towards an environment that's safe and open for mistakes. Yes. Great. I love how, even with these three that have just been, and please do continue to put others in, seeing that understanding the challenges and the needs is helpful to then generate the agreements, because it acknowledges that there are both challenges and needs in setting and building up a community. Okay, I know there are probably others typing, and please do continue, but we're going to slowly transition and move on, but feel free to keep the inputting in the chat. And what is important with a process like this, so if you were doing this process with a kind of bigger group or a smaller group, what's important is that you are getting consensus and agreement from everybody, right? You're not imposing those. And I just wanted to offer a quick note on consensus building, which is that it's important to ask for consent at each step of the process. So as you're guiding a group through a process like this, checking that everybody's with you, that everybody's in agreement about what's happening. The second point about listening for each person's needs and experiences is an important one that's come up already about our agreements. Welcoming and working through differences and concerns. So I've seen this in so many groups, and I have to say this often happens on WhatsApp groups in particular, when a WhatsApp group is trying to make a decision about something, and there are very different opinions going. And if you just notice and ask questions often in response to the differences that are emerging, to find out what the need is or what's behind the difference, there's often a common ground or a common line between these differences, but not being afraid of the differences, moving towards them. And it's also okay if there isn't complete consensus in a decision-making process. These 4 points I have found super, super helpful, and I share them with you to use in groups if you would like. But when kind of making a decision and you've reached a point of like, okay, we need to make a decision as a group, are we going ahead with this? You can give people a choice of A, B, C, D, as in terms of what their response might be. And it might be an unqualified yes. It might be, I can accept what is co-created, I can live with it, or I don't fully align with it, but I'm not going to block it, and will support it. Just to get these varying levels of consent is an interesting point, I think, about consensus. So there's lots around consensus that we could keep talking about. And I'm just looking back at the chat and seeing the additional comments that have come in. Aparna, thank you for joining us, no problem. And I love the commitments to teamwork and togetherness, and yes, compassion to accomplish the goal of peace and harmony. Beautiful. So moving on, yes, generated agreements are one thing that holds the container together. Again, this idea of a basket or a bowl. In different cultures, baskets and bowls have different kinds of meanings as well. So I invite you to choose the image that best makes sense to you. But agreements, as we've seen, Ben's done a lot of processes around agreements. Some of us are less familiar with agreements, but it's a tool that you can use in building communities. But it's one thing that holds the container together. And there are other things that hold the container together. So we're going to look at that. What we've done so far, and I just to acknowledge that even in this call and this process, we've started to build a community. So we're taking a sort of step back and looking at what we've done so far. We've had a chance to get to know one another. I made sure that each of you had a chance to, if you could, in terms of the microphone and technology, add your voice into the space. That was intentional in terms of hearing from each of you and getting to know a little bit about each of you through a very simple exercise of objects. There are multiple other things you can do, but the getting to know you process and the breaking the ice process is such an important part of building a community, and really where the relationships are built as well. Introducing something that builds a little bit of trust, a little bit of risk-taking, a little bit of vulnerability. Again, having to share something about yourself in a space like this is a little bit of that vulnerability that's being asked for, and it starts to then build the trust. And then generating agreements and building that container together. So already we've done 3 important things that are part of building a community. And the question that I had for the group was, what else helps us to build a community and make our container stronger? Ben already mentioned the collective vision and the purpose, and that being an important part. And I just want to say there's no correct order or incorrect order to this, in the sense of they can happen at different stages of the process and people do them differently. But collective vision and a purpose of a group, and this is where I'm really just wanting to share tools that I found helpful that I hope will be helpful for you. This is 3 words, very simple. Putting on this side of the sentence the name of your community or the name of your group, and afterwards completing the sentence. So I'm going to use EcoPeace Cafe exists so that ... And Greshma already filled out the sentence for us in terms of offering that definition. And so just in your own mind with your different communities that you're a part of, I invite you to think, how would you complete the sentence? If I think for myself, URI exists so that, or if I think more locally, I'm part of an organization called the Cape Town Interfaith Initiative, and the Cape Town Interfaith Initiative exists so that ... Filling in that sentence is not an easy process. And it's also not an individual process. This is another step where consensus building and group work is really important in formulating our collective vision and purpose. I'm curious if from others in the room who have done things like this, what are other ways that you've generated a collective vision or a purpose with a group? Has this been something you've done, and how have you done it? Anybody want to be brave and offer, or have we not done it? Is this new?
Hello.
Mm-hmm.
It's Sarah. Can I go? Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I have done this for the first maybe around 4 years in our cemetery, where I am the leader, director. In terms of finding agreement, and the first time it was not easy, but right now it is easy to do it. And how I go about it is to start early planning. And I consult even people outside my group. Start with a simple idea. This is what I do. Just start with a simple idea, what I expect. Maybe, for example, I'm planning for next year. I start already with a simple idea. What do I expect? And then I do consultation with people whom I think they might help. Then the idea gets improved. You know. Then finally, I bring it to my group after consulting and having better ideas from other people, bring it to my group. And then we work on it together, this kind of planning as a group. It takes time. But with patience, and then you see the idea improving and getting better. And then the planning stage needs to be finalized with a plenary discussion. After putting input from everyone, you have a plenary meeting where you come up with agreements, and then the evaluation plan, because you need to evaluate regularly. How are you doing? Because I realized that every group has a challenge of losing track. You know, as time goes, people get diverted to so many things. So as you do the evaluation, you bring people back to what was already agreed.
Yes.
Yes. So it makes the agreement to be reviewed, and for people to recommit themselves to what they decided already. So this is what I do.
Great, thank you, Brother James. I really appreciate you mentioning kind of consulting other people outside of the group in this process, because that is so useful, right? To get feedback from others, and the evaluation piece as well being really important. But yeah, that's a lovely example of a way that you've collectively designed a purpose as well. So yeah, really appreciate that. I'm going to pop back our slides and so these are other things that help in terms of building a community. So collective vision and purpose. This is the tool that I use, but that, like I said, there are many others, and you will have your own processes as well. Again, the consensus steps are useful for this. And like Julius has said, consulting other people is useful for this. The next one is shared values and principles. And just to clarify, yes, these are tools that I hope that you can run with your groups and people that you're working with, and this group as EcoPeace Cafe as well. The question that I find useful is, so what rules, again, maybe not the word rules here, but what rules must we absolutely obey in order to achieve our purpose? Or what do we absolutely have to do in order to achieve our purpose? And sometimes the question of what must we not do to achieve our purpose also leads us to a principle or a value. And from these questions, so again, thinking about your particular community, it might be useful to have that in your minds as an example. We can generate a list of values or principles. The thing with values and principles, however, is that they are very easy to say and they're very easy to write down, but in practice, they are a lot more challenging. And so I find it a really important step and process to talk about, as your group, what does this look like in practice? And I'll give an example. I did some work for a group here in Cape Town called the African Climate Alliance. They're African youth-led climate justice action movement. And we did this process of looking at values and group values. And it was very quick to say, yes, youth-led, Afrocentric, social justice organization. But once we started talking about what that actually looked like in practice, it was like it just exploded, the conversation. And there were many different opinions and many different views. And particularly, I mean, I recognize that most of you are either in the UK or Northern Hemisphere, but those from an African context will understand just trying to unpack what Afrocentric meant was a very big discussion, and whether we align ourselves with that value or not. So again, a group process. What are our values, to list them, and then to actually write it out. Another one, just another example also from that group, if your particular organization values being youth-led, as an example, EcoPeace Cafe is generally like working with young people. An example of what that might look like in practice is that you say, all our members are under the age of 35. So to try and be very specific about, yes, we can say we value youth inclusion, we value working with young people, but practically, what does that mean? How many young people are there? Say if you have a board or a formal structure, trying to be as specific as possible. Any comments or questions about values and processes with values that you found helpful or challenging?
I would say that for me, what is challenging in organizing this process, actually, to conduct the collaborative process would be very challenging, because, yeah, in a way, well, because I've run some practices, and I would say that would be my struggle, and something that I'm experimenting with, how to actually make this process so that they run smooth, and there is like kind of healthy collaboration and agreements and so on. So yeah, I guess that's what I'm thinking of, actually, how to conduct it.
Great. No, I'm so glad that you've got like an example in mind as well, and the piece of healthy collaborations and how we get everybody involved is yeah, exactly what we're talking about. So if there's a specific, like, I'm curious if there's a specific challenge, we can talk about it as well, with this question of what happens when things go wrong, and what do you do when things go wrong, or when there isn't healthy collaboration, or what are the kinds of responses that are needed. I'm sure there's wisdom in this group to contribute to that kind of conversation as well. So thank you for sharing. Yeah. Just to say that another tool that, and maybe thinking about collaborative processes, Natalia, this might be one that's helpful as well, but having these kinds of processes and decision making and working together are really useful. This is one that we've started using in URI recently as well, which is the Darcy model. There are different names for this, so you might know it as something else. But this is particularly for projects and working on projects, that it's helpful to make clear distinctions about roles, right? And roles in a group. And so DARCI each stand for a different role, and decision makers being the kind of ones that ultimately at the end the project those are the people that make the final decision about the project. Accountable is those that are ultimately accountable for making the project happen. And it's good that they're often it's good that there's sort of multiple accountable people who can work together, I would say. Responsible, those that are often doing the work, but ultimately they're not the ones accountable, but they're responsible for the project. Then you might have those that aren't involved in the project directly, but they're people that we need to consult with. So like Julius was saying with his process, he went out and spoke to a couple of people before deciding what the purpose of his organization was going to be. And so these are people that we check in with and consult and get input from. And then there might be people that just need to be informed. So they just need to be kept in the loop. But making these distinctions can help a process flow, and having people know, that's where the communication comes in, having people know their role can help things to just flow better, both in terms of communication and getting projects and work done. So these are just some tools that, like I said, have been helpful for me, but these are working tools, right? I think the first step, going back to what we did right at the beginning, let me just the first step of like getting to know one another, building that trust, building the sense of community and the agreements are really the foundation. And then these are the kinds of things, the collective vision and the purpose, the shared values and the principles, and the processes. Those three things are the things that just strengthen the basket and just make it stronger. But you need to have that foundation. So yes, the next thing I was going to do was, I'm just noticing our time. So what do we do when things go wrong? And for that, I hope you can still see my screen. We were going to do breakout groups, but I don't think we have time. So the conversation was going to be, think of a time when you were faced with a challenge in your group, or where trust was broken, and to ask the question of what happened, and were you able to move through, resolve the issue, and what did you learn from it? So I'll leave that on the screen for a moment, and just in our last 10 minutes, give you a chance to, just reflect on that. And maybe we'll hear from one or two if you have an example and learnings of when things have fallen apart, because as the book title goes of Chinua Achebe, if you've read it, things fall apart.
I used to work at refugee camps while I was still in Greece, where I'm originally from. And I remember that we did have different groups of volunteers then. There were like students, which I was one of them. We were there to practice social anthropology. So we were the researchers. And then we did have volunteers from the refugees who wanted to share about whatever topic we would have. It was mostly like icebreaker, or kind of engaging more, learning more about each other and building the trust. And I remember back then, but it's something that I always use with my within my different relationships, like friendships, like being a team member at work, or different community groups that I'm involved with, is that being a good listener. First, you need to listen to understand what the opposite person is trying to share with you, is trying to communicate with you, either is a challenge or not. And back then, because I was so passionate, I was more like solution or situation focused, I guess. I remember not being a good listener, but over the time, you know, with my involvement and everything, I think I built that technique, let's say, is a skill that is useful in every aspect of life. So that was challenging. Either it was because we were both, you know, we had different languages, first mother languages. There were so many people from around the world in the camp. That was making it challengeful as well, but also wanting something more than actually listening to the other person was making it challenging, because then there was nothing, no outcome. But if you listen first and then perhaps react or take your time in understanding first, but then sharing your comments is always useful. I just wanted to share that after seeing your questions. Thank you.
Yeah. It's such a great example. And just that, I feel like we could do a whole nother workshop on listening, and like there's so much to unpack with it. But you're so right that the listening is also, I mean, firstly, just really tuning in and listening to what is being said, but also listening to what's not being said often. And I think that's like what's underneath. Again, what is often people have like a position or a statement that they want to, you know, get across, but there's often a need or an interest underneath that, and if you can tap into what that is, it's a lot easier to get them, you know, connected in terms of the group. And Ben, thank you for sharing the conflict resolution guidelines. That's really, really great. I mean, I feel like we've got a lot to learn from each other, and conflict resolution is such an important process for building communities, and there's so much in that toolkit as well. So very cool to have that. Thank you. Any other examples that come to mind of challenges that you've worked through with groups?
Yeah, like even from EcoPeace Cafe. So in the beginning, like when we formed the team, we like even that was like a very diverse group from global volunteers. So that time it was like little bit hard, like we all like kind of experimenting, and we are like new, and so sometimes it's really hard to communicate with the volunteers and get the task done. And so so that time I understood that like the culture is really important, like how we understood and how we take things are really different from each other. So one of my volunteer, like I gave her a task and she couldn't finish it on time. And actually she told me that her dog is not well. So for me, like, okay, like, is it because of that she couldn't do? It's already like 2 weeks. And so I didn't take that serious way. But for her, it's a big thing. So then I didn't respond to her. And then after a few days, I sent her a message again, but she didn't reply back. And so she was like one of the very active volunteers, but I always have this regret, like, okay, I should understand like from her perspective, like how she took it, like how important her pet is. So, but she didn't reply or she didn't come back. Like even I send like gratitude message and appreciating certificates, but she didn't reply to me. But that's a big lesson for me, like for treating like how to treat volunteers and how to understand from other cultures. So sometimes I fail, but I try hard to do again and again. But this is like a big lesson for me. Like when they said, like, for me it may be like a very simple, very small thing, but for them it may be like a big thing, like very big thing. So
Thank you for sharing, Greshma. Again, there's like the listening element, but like really sort of putting yourself in another person's shoes and trying to understand what their situation might be. But totally there are challenges, like when even an act of kindness or an act of, appreciation isn't necessarily met in the way that you want it to. So very, very real challenges there. So yeah, I just want to say a huge thank you to everybody. We're sort of coming to the end of our time, and there's just really been such wisdom in the group. So I hope you've been taking notes and generating because there's the skill of building communities is very present in this group. These are just some of the takeaways that I wanted to leave with you of what we've covered today. Which, I mean, we've only had a short time to do all this. And so, the building of community really does take time, and it takes commitment to building of relationships, relationships being the important thing. And I feel like I've made 12 new friends today, and I do hope you'll stay in touch. Please, like, find me on Facebook, and I can pop my email in the chat as well, because it's always the building of relationships is so important in this world. And then group agreements that we've had quite a bit of a discussion about, and building group agreements through a consensus building process, formulating collective vision and purpose, talking about values, and then processes of decision making. And what we didn't, there was a little bit that I was going to do around conflict and moving towards conflict with curiosity, which we'll have to save for another time. But I will happily share these slides with everybody so that you can look through them in your own time as well. And just maybe by way of closing, if there's one takeaway, these are takeaways that I'm offering, but if there's something else that you've taken from the session that you want to just put it in the chat by way of closing, we can generate what's the one takeaway or learning that you are leaving today's session with.
I really liked the how was it called, the plan, I forgot the name already. I took
the Darcy model.
Darcy model is really useful, because when you are talking about community or communities, there is always different roles that every individual should have, either because of the work or either because of the task that you are working on or discussion. So tonight, for example, you were the leading person. So you may have had different challenges, different learnings, but we as listeners, we were in a different perspective. We were coming with our, experiences or thoughts that we had from different learnings, So that I really like that model. So I will definitely use it and revisit it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Anybody else want to offer a reflection before we close?
I really liked the agreements. So generating agreements. We're starting with I commit to. I think that's a really good exercise. I kind of want to try and apply it in many different ways. Not just work, it can be a lot of things. I think it's a really good way to just stay focused, and a bit like sometimes people have a mantra that they say to each other when they get a bit lost and if you're stressed, and that could be a good way to like have a list of agreements or phrases to go back to, and just remember who we are, what we want to do, and just keeping things clear and in mind. And I think it's it can be very productive as well.
Thank you. So I'm so excited to yeah, see where you go with that. And like, I'd love to hear feedback of how it goes. If you do run a session with a group. And Samia's put in the chat that we came to learn about making communities, and we made our own with this beautiful session and beautiful smiles, which I totally agree with. Thank you, Samia, for that comment. So I know there's big plans and sort of intentions for this group as well, and being involved, whether it's as in the role of sort of facilitators or running projects together. So I'll leave that to Eda and Greshma to fill in the details. But just as we close, yeah, big appreciation from my side to each of you for your amazing contributions and work. And I just feel like I said at the beginning, a conversation amongst friends in terms of peace builders and people who are doing incredible work in your communities. So love and gratitude, and thank you for the space.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sarah, and for this session. And we learned a lot, and we are taking the Dashing model with us, and we have coming up session on project planning and like how to implement community level projects. So I'm sure this will really helpful for that and act as a guideline for the coming sessions. So thank you once again, and thank you so much to all participants who joined here. And so we really encourage you to watch our recordings on YouTube and follow us on social media, and also please join us for the sessions. And if you are subscribed to our newsletters, you may see that we are also inviting you for a feedback interview, so you can share your thoughts with us and also share how can we improve this session. So we are planning to do more such sessions and also work with you in the future as like facilitators, or like we can host community events together. So please let us know, and please schedule the interviews, and once we will send you reminders again. So please use that opportunity. So once again, thank you so much. And yeah, it's already 2:30 a.m. in India. So yeah, so and I know Soumya is still here with us. So thank you so much. And Father Julius, it's also like November 2nd morning for you. And thanks
It's
to
5
everyone.
a.m. 5 a.m. already.
Y'all are amazing. It's 11 p.m. and I'm like, oof, it's time for bed.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, this is the first session after the time change. So we are actually adjusting to the timing. So thank you so much. I don't take much time. So Eda, do you want to share anything?
I just want to share my gratitude and how thankful I am that you all stayed until the ending of this webinar. Thank you so much, Sarah, for guiding us tonight and sharing your wisdom. Also, each of you, all your sharings give us so much information and guidance. So we're gonna make sure to include everything in our upcoming recording, which you're gonna receive. Thank you so much again. And I really love this community that we built tonight, and looking forward to seeing each of you at our next webinar. Hopefully you can make it. So please take care of yourselves